We wish a motherfucker would be in our shit.
As far as I'm concerned, they could burn this bitch to the ground. And it still wouldn't be enough. And they are lucky that what black people are looking for is equality and not revenge.
What up, y'all? Morning. All right, well, welcome to the morning edition of the Green Route. Appreciate y'all for hopping in. So this is something I usually do on like TikTok usually, but I'm gonna bring it to the rest of the platforms because why not? It's just really us going through the 5 headlines for the morning, more in depth. So I'm gonna do it here since we got the whole setup anyway. All right, so here's what I got for today, y'all. The 5 for the day. Number 1, OpenAI. Yeah, they're in trouble. They're in trouble with the Authors Guild. So this is the, I guess, guild or a union representing fiction writers who, really create amazing works from their own mind. So they are suing in a class action lawsuit, OpenAI, because they are alleging that the company used their copyrighted work, so their manuscripts, to feed into algorithms in order to get the AIs to have more human-like responses. So if anybody has been involved in anything AI related, you will know immediately that a lot of companies are hiring writers, content writers, copywriters, bloggers, whatever, right? If they like your writing style, even if they don't like your writing style, in some cases, the point is to get these AIs to write like a human would. So of course you're going to need very good writers. But then you may need some trash writers too, because some people write like trash on the internet. So they are hiring writers, some of them at fairly good wages, to be honest, to help train these AIs. So everything from the actual content prompt creator. So they'll give you a prompt, you write it, and then the algorithm will study it. But then they also have editors, people who will go in and look at what the AI created and go in and say, no, you should have said it this way, or the comma goes here, or whatever. So it really is about making these things as human as possible in their style and their voice and their tone. So yeah, we'll see what happens with this class action lawsuit. And a lot of this is starting to come up when it comes to AI and creative endeavors. Remember that this is part of even the Writers Guild, the Hollywood writers, right? Their strike, as well as the actor strike, where they want these companies to create some type of guarantee that says, hey, you won't replace our jobs with these AIs. By the way, there's a good episode of Black Mirror. It's the new season of Black Mirror on Netflix. The new season, the very first episode, I think it's called like Joan is Awful or something. But y'all, it literally talks about how a production company, like a creative production company, has used the likeness of this lady to create a whole series of entertainment. And the lady ends up seeing herself and her days being displayed like right in front of her on TV. It's nuts. So it does kind of show that, if we are not careful, because how much shit from Black Mirror actually became a thing, right? I'm just saying. If we're not careful, like, we really could see, people, quote unquote, being replaced, and their art forms being replaced. So that's story number 1. What else I got for y'all? So the more strikes, right? This is like a labor revolution in America right now. But United Auto Workers, so an update on their strike. They went on strike last Friday. I want to say it was Friday. 11:59. Contract negotiations had not really moved a lot. They didn't get what they want. So the union had the first phase of their strategy rolled out, where they had employees from 3 plants, one from each of the big 3, to go on strike. Well, now, there's a lot of rallying going back and forth between the union and the big three. As of late, here's the update. Stellantis, which hadn't furloughed or laid off any employees yet, actually announced their very first furlough. I believe this was yesterday. Let me check to make sure my source is right, though. Yeah, so they furloughed dozens of workers, but Stellantis also put a warning out to the union that, hey, if y'all don't get your shit together, we're going to furlough hundreds more. Somebody in the comments on TikTok had asked how they can lay off union employees. And I think the way, at least in my time working around union employees and actually being a manager of union employees, you can pretty much say that, like, either the demand isn't there, so I'm going to need to furlough you, or it could be as simple as, I need my capacity to go down because we don't expect to sell as many cars, and so they'll find a way to justify it. Now, if they say it's because of the strike, that's a whole nother deal. But, companies have very, very smart, not only finance people on the books, but attorneys that can help them get around a lot of this. So Stellantis announced its first round of furloughs yesterday. GM had already laid off, I think it's 600 employees. No, that was Ford. I'm sorry. Ford had laid off 600 employees and GM idled 2,000 employees. So this is the back and forth. What I do love about what we're seeing with this strike in particular, though, is that the union came ready. They came with a fund that they knew would be needed given that this was going to happen. Like, I would not at all sit around and believe that union leadership did not expect this to happen, hence why they probably built this fund up to be able to go on such a widespread strike. So right now, those on the picket line, they did take a pay cut. They're getting $500 a week. And then those who have either been laid off or furloughed will be, because of the strike in particular, will be added to the strike fund payroll. So these folks are taking a pay cut. But at the end of the day, I think most of us would agree that they're absolutely right. Anyone who has worked a corporate job knows that oftentimes the profits are not shared amongst the people who do the most work. And let me go on and say my privilege right now. Like, I was, a middle to senior manager in corporate America. So I wasn't even a union employee, but it was very clear to me who were the most important people on payroll. And usually it was the people who got the least when it came to profit sharing. So the union is asking for four things. Number one, for a pay increase over the next 4 years. I believe the percentage is still sitting at 36%. They had originally asked for 40%, and the reason they asked for 40 was because when they aggregated and averaged the CEOs of the big three, their pay had gone up by 40%. So, the people in the factories, it was like, yeah, then I should get 40% too. Number two, they are asking for a 32-hour work week, which, lead the charge. We have been asking for this for a long time. Most of us completely know that we can do our jobs in 32 hours, especially if you're in corporate. There was nothing that I was doing for 40 hours a week that was so important that I needed to be there. Half the time you sitting around bullshit and going on 2-hour lunches anyway. So I actually really love the thought of a 32-hour work week. Your productivity doesn't change, though. Remember that. We're not talking about less productivity, less capacity to create. I know for a fact that I don't need 40 hours to create what I create in 40 hours. I could do it in probably less than 32. So I love that they're leading the charge on this. There are companies and countries that are trialing and implementing 4-day work weeks anyway. And of course, it's good for work-life balance. It's good for morale. And I mean, your people are just happier, right? Right. I would, if I ran a company, I'm gonna tell y'all, my people would work for 4 days a week, and we're gonna work our asses off in them 4 days. But there's no reason I need to see you 5 days a week. Go hang out with your kids. Call your mama. Do something else. Get out of my face. So that's number two. The third thing they are asking for is for newer employees to be covered under the pension. I mentioned this earlier this morning too. Most of us who are part of the millennial demographic, especially if you're on the younger side of the millennial generation, we ain't never known nothing about no pension. Like, it's been 401k or bust for us. So I love that, they are pushing for that, because we are seeing people work for companies 20, 25, 30, sometimes 40 years and leave there and have to go get another job at the airport because, they hadn't saved or they hadn't made enough money to save for retirement. I wouldn't want my mama having to work after she retired. I would definitely want her to be able to enjoy her life. So I think that's fair. And then the last thing they are asking for is to get rid of the pay tiers, which has been impacting newer employees as well. And you will see that at a lot of companies where, if you got hired 20 years ago, you were probably on a very different pay scale. And so you came in at a higher wage, meaning your base was higher. And so your increases 3-5%, whatever, has led you to be, at a massive gap when they're bringing new employees in at maybe $14-15 an hour. So I think all of those things are fair. For the people in the comments who are going to say shit like, well, the CEOs, earned what they get, you obviously have never worked close to a CEO. And let me tell you, as someone who has, I'm not saying that they don't earn, they don't earn the ability, right, or the privilege of living a very good life, because a lot of times they are the face of the company. They are held accountable for a lot of those big decisions. But I also don't think that we give enough credit to the people who, if they left the job, the entire place would collapse. And I think that's what this is about, is making sure that the people who are usually on the bottom, who do the most important jobs of making sure the company is propped up, be able to share, in the profits in a way that is fair. All right. America's $33 trillion in debt officially. We passed the $33 trillion mark the other day, which is historic and terrible timing, given that we are potentially 2 weeks away from a federal government shutdown because of, the lack of participation, I'm going to say, within the House. Real quick, a rundown on that. So Kevin McCarthy is... He stays stuck between a rock and a hard place. Let's go on and say that. Kevin McCarthy is stuck between trying to strike a deal on funding the federal government and the Freedom Caucus. And not just the Freedom Caucus, right? There are other Republicans, in the House that are giving him a run for his money. But Kevin McCarthy has found himself in this position several times since he's taken that House seat. And part of the reason is because of the concessions that, he gave when he was being voted in to get the House seat. A couple weeks ago, Matt Gaetz had said explicitly, right, in front of microphones, out of his mouth, that pretty much if McCarthy didn't do what we told him to do, we were going to oust him, because don't forget who put you in that seat and what you promised us to get in that seat. So McCarthy is having a tough time, but we knew he would when it took, 14, 15 times to get that vote. And at this point, it was just like, hell, I was going to nominate myself for the Speaker of the House at one point. But yeah, he's having a tough time. So America's in debt, and we may be on the verge of a shutdown. Now, the debt, according to the Treasury Department, comes from a few things. The first thing that they mentioned is a 50% increase in federal spending between 2019 and 2021. The second thing that they mentioned was social programs. So, okay. The third thing that was mentioned, and it probably directly ties to social programs, is the widespread unemployment during COVID-19. With that, we did have more people on benefits than normal, right? But also with that, you had less tax revenue because people were out of work. And then the last thing that it mentioned, and I love this, is tax cuts. So, yeah, $33 trillion. And they got the nerve to talk to me about this little funky student loan. That's just crazy. It's crazy. Nuts. Sweep around your own front door, America. All right. The fourth story I got for y'all is the program that allowed us to get free COVID tests at home. So that program is coming back. So I'm sure most of us have been kind of paying attention to, the kind of summer spike, the end of summer spike. We've seen this now for years, right? Where cases go up and down based on what's going on in the atmosphere and in the environment. So we're kind of in one of those spikes right now. We've seen hospitalizations go up. I actually had a couple family members get it again. Fingers crossed, I still have not tested positive. I don't think I've had it. I think my shit has been allergies, or at least that's what I've been telling people. But yeah, so the federal government is bringing back that program. They announced a $600 million budget that will allow for 12 test manufacturers across the country, and these are in the country, thank goodness, to ramp up their manufacturing and their capacity. But it also allows the federal government to purchase 200 million tests from those manufacturers in order to feed the program that we're talking about. So if you need them, if your grandma, your great aunt, I think they're super important, especially for elders who get a lot of visitors. We make sure that my grandmother has some at all times. You can get them starting on September 25th, and the website is covidtest.gov. So go in there, throw in your info, and I think I was able to request 4 of them myself during the last program. And this time I think you can still request up to two tests per person, or is it per household? I'll have to look that up and put it in the notes. But yeah, the other thing is they're also trying to take care of the issue with a lot of us not really knowing when these tests expired or that they even expired. Let me point that out, because I didn't even know the test expired. So now there's supposed to be some, magical label that tells you when the test expired. There's also apparently a website. Someone had commented earlier that there is a website that will tell you which lots expire when. So I'm going to research that and also put it in the show notes. But again, September 25th, covidtest.gov. You can request your free test. And yeah, that's another $600 million that we spent. So it makes sense that we're $33 trillion in debt. We got food at home, America. We could really be eating at the house. Make a to-go drink. We can't be in the club buying $14 drinks right now as a country. All right. And lastly, down here in Texas, so Attorney General Ken Paxton has spoken out for the first time since he was acquitted of his 16 impeachment charges on Saturday. And he mad. Yeah, Paxton is mad, but not at just Democrats. He's mad at people in his own party. So Paxton, during an interview, again, this was his first since he had been acquitted, mentioned that he believes that certain members of his own party worked alongside the Biden administration to impeach him as retribution for, number one, filing lawsuits challenging the 2020 election and the results that showed that Biden had won. And number two, for lawsuits that he had filed challenging Biden's policies. So, there's already been a lot of infighting within the Republican Party here in Texas because of this impeachment. People were either on one side or the other. In fact, I saw like a picture this morning of a group of Republicans praying at the impeachment trial. It was like a very stoic moment where they all had their like heads bowed, and I guess they were rallying around Ken Paxton. And then on the other side, you had people who were like calling for his ass to be ousted, right? So I do think that shows the the great divide and the polarization in the party here in Texas. But yeah, Paxton is calling names. And who knows if there will be some retribution against the names that, the people who hold the names that he called. So he, again, did get acquitted of all 16 charges. He is now the scot-free and clear attorney general in here in Texas still. And yeah, that's what we got. So I appreciate y'all rocking with me. Apparently somebody just FaceTimed me. That was weird. But yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. I appreciate y'all. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, tell your mama and them about the Green Route. We have a new episode dropping today, episode 8 of season 2. And crazy enough, this will be the last day that the full show, the full Wednesday, Thursday show will be recorded here. We're actually moving to the Sour Kids Studios up in North Dallas, which I'm super excited about. But y'all will still get these morning updates from here, and hell, maybe some evening updates if I ain't doing nothing and want to drink and talk shit with y'all. But all right, y'all have a great day, and I will see y'all later. Bye. And excuse my wardrobe. I worked out this morning at 6 o'clock, so humble flex, but you know, I'm probably gonna be looking a mess this early in the morning. All right, later, y'all.
We wish a motherfucker would be in our shit.
As far as I'm concerned, they could burn this bitch to the ground, and it still wouldn't be enough. And they are lucky that what black people are looking for is equality and not revenge.